Hello and welcome to part 6 of my personal budgeting series, How to Create and Use a Financial Plan. And as I mentioned, we're now at part 6, just one more part to go. Just want to point out that these two parts I refer to as strategic financial planning because the time frame or time horizon is way out in the future and it starts with the beginning of your retirement and goes to the end of life, your life. Whereas the first 5 parts focus more on budgeting and forecasting, which are really focusing on just the current year, just to be clear. Okay? So when I talk about a financial plan, the context that I refer to is the output from a retirement planning calculator. And there are essentially two levels or two types of calculators. There's the very detailed, they're very robust, and there are those that are more at a summary level. And what we're going to use in our example is Fidelity's Retirement Income Planner, which is very robust and affords an opportunity to enter a lot of precise data that's just relevant to you. And if you're curious, an example of a summary level calculator, and a very good one, is Vanguard's Nest Egg Calculator. So just a quick overview of the Retirement Income Planner from Fidelity, since that's what we'll be using in our example. It will present a year-by-year cash flow analysis, which starts with a year of your retirement and goes through end of life. Again, budget is only looking at your current year's income expenses. It's based on detailed personal data, your expenses, your income, and your investments. And if you happen to be a Fidelity customer, it's really great because they integrate your investments right into the tool for you, so it saves you that data entry and also ensures a more, I think, reliable outcome. The tool also uses a set of assumptions in addition to data: inflation assumptions, risk tolerance, and historic market performance. And it ties this historical market performance with their probability, I guess it's Monte Carlo simulations, to come up with a probability of you being able to successfully achieve the results that are being presented based on the data that you've input and the assumptions. And that'll become more clear when I show you the example. And speaking of which, in our case, we got a married couple, 5-year age difference, 10 years from retirement, 55 for the spouse, and 50 for the wife, 65 and 60 respectively, $1,500 monthly mortgage to be paid off 5 years after retirement. Social Security will be deferred to full retirement age, and $250,000 in their 401ks, and $100,000 in their taxable accounts. So let's take a look at our example. So I've created a test account at Fidelity, and I've logged in and I've filled out all the data so we don't have to go through that process. And what we're going to do is we go under Guidance and Retirement, click on Retirement Planning, and anyone could do this, by the way. You don't have to be a Fidelity customer. Then click on the Retirement Income Planner and click there to launch it. And ours is already set up. I went ahead and filled in all of the data, and it takes a minute depending on the traffic. You'll get this huge legalese thing. You got to accept it in order to use the tool. We accept it. And you can go to your summary if you're just interested in results, but of course we're going to start at the beginning. So the first thing is to enter in your personal information, Sonny and Cher, with your date of birth and what year or what age you plan to retire at. And I highly recommend that you put in, ages that are, way off into the future, into your 90s, because that helps guard against the risk of you running out of money, which is retirees and pre-retirees' number one concern is, gosh, am I going to outlive my money? Nobody wants that to happen. So by putting in those ages into the 90s, you plan to that, best case, worst case, however you want to refer to it as. Click Save and Continue. And next, we're going to be looking at the detailed living expenses. I don't really want to talk about this other option because I think this tool is great because it offers the ability to put detailed information into it. And what I've done is I've gone in and filled out the expenses for Sonny and Cher. Again, the $1,500 mortgage. And you say, oh, it's paid off 5 years after they retire. They retire in 2025, so they're paying their mortgage, and these are annual amounts, until 2030, which is exactly what we want to do. So the tool, it really allows you to do some pretty specific, precise planning. And it's got these different categories. Healthcare, ooh, that's a good one. um, and one thing I want to show you else here is custom expenses. Yeah, that should be Sunny. I don't know why Sunny is being shy about his name there, but it should be Sunny. So excuse me while I make sure we give Sunny credit for this. But again, you go in here and Sunny is going to buy a car in 2026, and that's what it's going to cost. So a very powerful tool. You indicate whether an expense is non-discretionary. They call it essential expense. If you don't check it, then it becomes a discretionary expense. And it summarizes your expenses by essential, discretionary, and non-essential, which are discretionary. And we're talking about $4,800 here. Save and continue. Okay, moving on. We are now looking at some information about income. So Sunny currently makes $70,000 a year. Cher's making $50,000. They again are married, filing jointly. They've looked at Social Security's online benefit estimate tool or calculator, and right now Sunny's looking at $1,400 a month in Social Security, and Cher at $1,000 again when they reach age 67. That's their plan or their strategy for taking Social Security. And the tool allows you to enter in other kinds of income, which is really great because, again, you can get pretty precise when you're looking at your own situation. It gives you a higher confidence level in the results. That's just a summary. They're going to skip through that pretty quickly. As I said, there's $250,000 in the 401k IRA, tax deferred or tax advantage accounts, and $100,000 in taxable accounts. And they're saving $3,500, or how much they're contributing to each of these accounts. $1,000 into the taxable accounts. So this is basically their savings rate. Now, I'm using approximations here as opposed to detail because I just wanted to be able to go through this quickly, and it takes a lot of time and effort to put in your detailed investments unless they're being integrated because you're a customer of Fidelity. So just for this example, I'm using the approximations, which are fine. Okay. Save and continue. Moving forward, they ask for your risk tolerance here, and they ask a couple of questions, rate your risk here. I'm not going to spend too much time here. They do use it when they run their simulations, but that's probably too much information. They summarize your key information. You can take a look at it, make sure you got it right, before you do the really important part, which is to run these 250 Monte Carlo simulations. And here's what you get back. An analysis of your plan. Here's your first year expenses. Oops, shortfall. You're going to run out of money at 84. Now, that's not necessarily the whole story. Let me show you the cash flow summary, and you can see what we're talking about in a little bit more detail. So this is what I call the plan. And it starts with your year you're retired, and it shows your expenses and your withdrawals. And ooh, that's a red flag. You're withdrawing 11% of your investments. Not good. Right, because you don't have any income other than what's available in your investments. Your Social Security doesn't start for 2 years. So bad news is when Sunny is 84, out of money, and that's not what you want. That's not a good outcome. But this particular outcome, when you look at view results from a different market performance, they have come up with results using the most conservative or worst case market performance data. So they're saying, we default to present your cash flow in a way that 90% of the time you could have confidence that the results are going to be as predicted based on their modeling techniques, which says 1 out of 10 times it's going to be worse. You're going to run out of money sooner than 84. But there's a 90% probability it won't be until you're 84 to run out of money. But it says, what if your returns are not just significantly lower, but they're actually a little bit better? And they say, well, 1 out of 4 times, you're going to have enough money to last you till you're 89. Or there's a 75% probability that your current situation, making no changes, you won't run out of money till you're 89. And if just market averages prevail, you actually have enough money to take you all the way through your end of life, which is pretty good. So this becomes a personal preference thing. It's informative, it's indicative, and it really depends on you as to how you want to plan. I've always planned using this because it builds in some contingency if you plan to the worst case, so that if you can get your plan to line up with this case, then you have a higher confidence that if the bad news does occur, you're going to be okay. And if things are better, you're just that much better off. So that pretty much sums up what we want to go through here in section 5, or excuse me, section 6. Section 7, or part 7, we're going to take a look at what they call these what-if scenarios and see how we take care of this this shortfall at age 84. So hey, let's take a pause here. And okay, so our takeaways for this this part 6 of our series is that the usage of a retirement planning calculator is essential. Now, they're not perfect, but it's something that you can't overlook and you can't be dissuaded from doing because someone's criticizing these retirement planning calculators. You can find some that are good, and when used intelligently and used in conjunction with other things that are going on and other information available, they really provide some valuable information. And the sooner you start using it, the more time you have to reach your goals and to recover from mistakes. So the sooner you start using a retirement planning calculator, the better. And even if you're not, say, 50, let's say you're under 50, use the Vanguard one or another one that's at the summary level, just so you can get a ballpark feel as to whether, how well you're doing. And I would say that if you are over 50 or looking to retire early, use a detailed one. That's the way I kind of break it down. If you're over 50 or looking to retire early, use a detailed retirement planning calculator. If you're under 50, at least use the summary level retirement planning calculators. And as I said, these tools are not perfect, but their weaknesses can actually be mitigated. There are ways to work around some of their weaknesses. And another great thing about them is that it facilitates communications between you and your spouse, and you and your financial planner, you and your family. And it helps you develop your retirement strategies. It helps you look at questions of relocation, for example. So it's really good to, again, facilitate that conversation, which is another really important aspect of retirement planning. And you create a baseline plan, update it annually, and monitor your performance to get a feel for how well this particular tool, or the tool that you choose, is actually tracking to reality. So really important to create that baseline plan and continue to actively use it, use the tool going forward, so that you get a sense of how well you plan, how well the tool works, and again, gives you time to make adjustments based on the any variances that you see. Okay, so that ends part 6. Thanks a lot for staying with me on this, and we have one more part to go. And thank you so much, and we'll see you on part 7.